Hi viewers, it is your host Wakar Korvi, and we've been doing, vlogs and podcast on different aspects of security, international development. But I think today's vlog is very critical because it comes on the heels of Hamas Israel conflict, which is now becoming more of a regional conflict. Although we've done a podcast on that, which will be, I think, telecast tomorrow, but I thought that we should do a quick vlog to update on the evolving situation. Now, this is basically derived out of frustration uh, in the Palestinian ranks, especially in the Gaza Bank and the Gaza Strip, which basically became an open air prison with demographics of almost 2 million people crammed in a space of about 350 square kilometers. So, at its, I think, maximum width is about 12 kilometers, and then it is like almost 35 to 40 kilometer long, and it is all surrounded by Israeli occupation forces. Now, why it has happened, I think the motivation was reflected by Marwan Bishar in one of his articles in Al Jazeera, where he said the Palestinians have made it clear today that they would rather fight on their feet for justice and freedom than die on their knees in humiliation. It is high time that Israel heeds the lessons of history. And I was also following the Haaretz magazine, or the newspaper, Israeli newspaper, which is very, very critical of Netanyahu, the way he has handled the Palestinian issue, his high-handedness, and why probably now there is a lot of gloom within the Israeli society. I think he was already very, very unpopular as far as his conduct with the courts is concerned. Now, coming quickly to the military strategy which was adopted by Hamas, I think in terms of modern warfare, this battle is going to be studied for too long in terms of how a very small ragtag militia force can challenge a reasonably strong military power with high technology. Israel is considered to be one of the best military powers in the Persian Gulf region and in the Middle East. Now, military strategy which was followed by Hamas actually created the saturation of response within Israeli defense forces. There was a multi-dimensional attack from sea through small boats, despite they don't have a navy, they don't have an air force, but they used gliders, very innovative tactics. And then, of course, they were able to breach that $1 billion fence or wall and enter into all those settlers' colonies, I think, including Ashkelon town, very close to Gaza, and were able to actually, I think, initially achieve this uh, political objectives. Now, what could be the political objectives? I think one, it was to draw the attention of international community and the regional powers and regional players that nothing can happen without involving the Palestinians. Palestinians thought that they were being sidelined, and there was talk of Abraham Accord and then this India, Middle East, Israel, Europe corridor coming up. So it meant that things were very normal. Israel could come, at will, destroy their households, kill kids, women, and old people, destroy their infrastructure, and they push the Palestinians back to maybe a decade. So this was happening, and probably the normalization, effort within Middle East was causing a lot of anxiety. The Israelis, I think, took it too seriously in terms of that probably this is how they can normalize relations and then oppress the Palestinians instead of going for a real two-state solution and giving them their right. They thought they could get away with it. I think the strategy was born out of that. So the other thing I think is the how the region is going to change after this war. Because now U.S. Aircraft carrier is reported to be very close to Israel in the Mediterranean. The Russians have a Tartus base in Syria. They are also watching it, and there were very strong statements coming from Islamic Republic of Iran as well as Turkey. Today we also found that Jordan and Egypt have pushed humanitarian convoys to Rafah crossing, and Israel has decided. Actually, Israel bombed the crossing, and challenge the Egyptians that in case their trucks are seen, they're going to be hit. So this could be, I think, very very serious situation. I think Egypt is not a small fry that it can, be budged by Israeli oppression. So all told, I think it's still evolving situation. Now within, I think, West Bank, you have Alliance Done, a kind of brigade which definitely supports Hamas. There is also anti-Islamic jihad taking place from the north, and Hezbollah is also now getting activated. So in case West Bank and Hezbollah opens from north and west, I think they're going to be serious problem for the Israeli. As far as the Israeli operation is concerned, they have gone in with massive airstrikes, a lot of armor, artillery concentration, and I think the firing also started. Unfortunately, the defense minister has been dehumanizing the Palestinians by saying that they were like uh, a human animal or something like that. Unfortunately, one media which is also gone even beyond what the Israeli media is doing is the Indian media, and I feel that it is very important for the Palestinians, the Arabs, and the Muslim world to watch statements coming from Major Gaurav Arya that he would prefer that Gaza is, flattened and turned into a car park. Just imagine. And so, because India feels that this is their time to support the Zionists, you have an RSS thuggish government ruling the Rajpat. They are already basically doing the same oppression in occupied Kashmir, in Manipur, in Indian Punjab. There's a wave of Khalistan, and India feels that in case the minorities can get some spirit from Hamas, and smaller nations within India can rise up, and maybe the Kashmiris can think of such an operation, could have serious problem for Indian unity and integrity. So I think that's why they've sent. I think you find India Today, you find Beyond, you find a couple of other channels sending their correspondents, and they are basically following the towing the Israeli line. It's very very unfortunate. I've seen some of their commentators. Prime Minister Modi has come up very openly in support of Israel, not realizing that, you know thousands of Palestinian children and women and old people have been killed in past 2 decades by high-handedness of Israel. Now we also, I think, should be mindful of what happens to India, Middle East, Israel, and Europe corridor, because this corridor was now threatening the Suez Canal. I think the Egyptians have already more than doubled the $6 billion revenue by expansion of Suez Canal, and I think there are other programs. There was also a corridor being conceived and executed by Turkey and Iraq through Basra, going through Iraq and Turkey to Europe. So these two very strong states on the shoulders of the so-called India, Middle East, Israel, Europe corridor were worried. So should Egypt, in the heart of their heart, be satisfied that in case there is instability in Israel, I don't think so anybody is going to do any investment. Now comes the question of Russia and China. Russian Federation, I think President Putin was very clear. I think day before yesterday he was with the World Eye Club, and I think today also he passed a statement. This because of failure of American policy of high-handedness and taking things for granted and pushing the Palestinians, I think, with a wall. China has been, I think, very very systematic and pragmatic. In the UN Security Council, I think Nikki Haley could not get any resolution as desired by the Israelis and the Americans. So these two countries seem to be quite isolated even in the United Nations. There was a strong statement by the UN Secretary General. He's already said that it's a humanitarian catastrophe which is happening and the world has to stop. So there are efforts by Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Egypt, and Jordan, and some of the Western powers to mediate. But I don't think so it's going to stop here, because the Israeli Defense Forces, Mossad, has been humiliated beyond, I think, any earlier estimates that how come a militia could not only dent their military capability but strategically surprise them. And I think they've damaged Israel a lot in terms of political, diplomatic, and military capability. And even the fighting is going on. There was a notice by Hamas to the Israelis to evacuate Ashkelon. which is a settlers town. Ashkelon was basically more than 40,000 Palestinian and Christians, and after 48 they were gradually pushed out, and then now you have about 32,000 houses which have come up with settlers. Settlers are basically behaving like thugs. They have weapons, and now Israel has decided to actually arm in the north also and in the south. So you're going to see more of friction and fighting. So I think this was a quick uptake. Now coming to Pakistan, I think the stance has been following the OIC line, but gradually the pressure on the government is going to build up in the streets. We had demonstration by Jamaat Islami as well as some of the other parties. Also, People Party leadership went and met the Palestinian ambassador in Islamabad to display solidarity. There's a lot of debate going on in media, and public opinion definitely is with the Palestinians because Pakistan's stance is a principal stance. In case it is diluted here, it will affect our stance in occupied Kashmir as well. Now, there's also a lesson for Pakistan and Kashmiris of the Azad Kashmir that in case you want something real, this is a model that Hamas has displayed to the entire world. And in case Pakistan and Kashmiris can prepare volunteers, I think time is not far away when they can liberate the occupied Kashmir, which is definitely on the UN agenda. And I'm sure the military commanders and the Kashmiri leadership in Azad Kashmir will be thinking about it, and that's why it's sending shockwaves into spine of Narendra Modi. Thank you very much.